Hello dear friends, partners, followers of our channel. We are at the factory in the city of Krasnodar. Today we will talk more about our factory. Specifically, we'll talk about the process of SIP manufacturing in detail, about particular nuances, and in the next videos, we will tell you about the production of our unique prefabricated houses, that is VIRMAK technology, about products made of lumber, I-beams, green fiber, sandwich panels, and the production of light steel-thin wall structures, steel galvanized siding. Check out our channel to see everything yourself. Click that subscribe button and we will begin. Let's go. In our production, we output all of the above materials. And for the successful operation of both the factory and the company as a whole, we pay great attention to practical research and testing of materials, development of technical specifications, work method statements, obtaining certificates, purchasing specific equipment, and training our employees, from company managers to specialists working at machines and assemblers who are actually involved in erection of the houses. Our own premises of total area 2.5 thousand square meters are fully designed and built by the company's specialists. That is all design documentation, a two-story administrative building made of SIP, and also our production facilities. No third-party organizations. This is all done by our own resources and means. By the way, it took several years, but we also plan to build another large building here, as well as expand production facilities in Moscow. We are the only company in Russia that has significantly modified the SIP technology. Let's first understand what SIP means and how to build a house from such panels. Abbreviation SIP means Structural Insulated Panels. Construction technologies using SIPs came from the United States in the 40s and 50s. SIPs are used as elements for the construction of load-bearing walls, so SIP houses, or another name for frame panel houses, are also called house from SIPs, which seems to emphasize this is not a frame house at all, but something completely different. No matter how this technology is called, the essence remains unchanged. Frame panel houses are a certain type of frame construction in which the house is built from panels made on a production line basis. The frame assembly is performed in parallel to the construction of the house itself, since the panels alternate with the frame bars in this case. As a result, the house has two power elements, the frame enclosed by the panels, and the panels themselves, which form the power walls. The major part of our production and the entire construction are based on the use of CBPB plates and SIPs as board material, as well as non-pressed, expanded polystyrene and mineral wool board as insulation. A few years ago, we bought equipment for the manufacturing of SIPs with urethane foam insulation, but except for prototypes, it did not go so far. Mainly, it was because of the very high price of this material, but most likely, we will return to this product later. So if you are interested in the construction of houses using urethane foam insulation, then write your thoughts. But we also produce SIPs with such barrier materials as OSB, CBPB, green board, glass, magnesium board, plywood, sheet metal. The working with CBPB materials requires a separate, special approach. Dimensions of plates: width 1.2, 1.25 meters, and length 2.7, 3.2 meters. The length of cement-bonded particle board is later the height of the SIP, and therefore the height of the walls of your future home. And the width of CBPB is not acceptable for us due to a number of reasons, one of which its weight. So the weight of CBPB in the composition of SIPs is really heavy. To solve the problem, and for a number of other reasons listed below, we purchased professional format cutting equipment and began to saw the CBPB in halves. The panel width became 600 millimeters instead of 1.2 meters. This consequently reduced the weight twice as much. Another reason that prompted us to cut it is to get a much tougher structure of the walls in the future, because now the step for framing an SIP walls has become 600 millimeters. Since our production facility is located in the south of Russia in Krasnodar, and the bigger part of our products is focused on seismically dangerous areas, which include the Krasnodar region, the Crimea, the republics of the North Caucasus, this measure has become a necessary one. Also, based on Russian regulatories, we're simply obliged to arrange framing of the SIP walls with a maximum of 600 millimeter spacing. Yes, in regard to these regulatory standards, SP and SNP, for the frame housing construction, we have a panel frame SIP. However, there is actually no SIP standards specifically for SIP housing construction in Russia. And if any outstanding question arises, the authorities will rely on the current rules. Geometry was another reason to cut CBPB in halves of 600 millimeters. Cement-bonded particle boards that come to us from factories do not have the exact geometry required by our company for the production of SIPs. The error in linear dimensions is significant. When cutting, we also solve this problem. By the way, almost all sheet materials, OSB, green board, glass magnesium board, and plywood suffer from the mismatch or rather deviations of the linear dimensions. Have you ever tried to check the quality of diagonals? Here's a thought for you. And so far as I touched on the topic of CBPB shortcomings, let's add a little to it. There's an opinion that the cement board is fragile. Is it true? Yes, CBPB is more fragile material, if I may say so, than oriented strand board. The bending resistance of OSB is on average 18 MPa and the same of CBPB is 12. But this is exactly the same resistance as that of glass magnesium board and fibrolite green board. But since we use CBPB of the 600 millimeters width as part of the SIPs, and the thickness of CBPB is 12 millimeters, we used 10 millimeters earlier, then this value can be ignored. We consider the CBPB not as a separate material, but as a material that is a constituent part of the whole structure. And this is the SIP itself and plus the framing timber that connects these panels. Next, the so-called nailability. Some people are afraid that it is very difficult to tighten the CBPB with the screw, but there are such physical features as bending resistance, resistance to screws withdrawal, and these characteristics are absolutely identical, both for CBPB and fibrolite green board, and according to such characteristics as water absorption, thickness swelling, the CBPB material is superior of fibrolite by as much as 3 times. Well, in order to facilitate tightening up the screw in SIP with CBPB and to ensure the space from the edge of CBPB and the drilling space unchanged, we pre-drill and make the counter boring of each CBPB with the factory equipment. This measure helps a lot when working on construction sites, and thus, now it doesn't matter who builds a house, a professional installer or you by yourself. After buying our panels or prefabricated houses, the building, culture, and speed will remain consistently at a high level. And here our solution turns out to be an undisputable advantage. So we have prepared a CBPB for the manufacture of SIPs. The next material for SIPs is insulation. And as I said earlier, we use either polystyrene or Isover mineral wool board as insulation. A lot has been written and filmed about polystyrene, including on YouTube, but the fact is that the quality of PSB, polystyrene, is subject to strict requirements in regard to such characteristics as density and flammability. The material must be self-extinguishing and, accordingly, the styrene itself must be of food grade, not a technical one. Mineral wool board is called all materials that have a similar fibrous structure and are used for sound and thermal insulation, that is, basalt and fiberglass, are all types of mineral plates. Indisputable advantages of mineral insulation. Excellent ability to steam. Fire resistance is beyond compare. It is non-combustible material. Soundproofing qualities are high level. It is several times superior to foam polystyrene. The material strength, stone board, is non-shrinkable material. Biological and chemical activity is low. Safety level is okay. The plates are produced from natural raw materials, and we decided on the production of SIPs with a mineral plate based on fiberglass. Why? That's because the basalt-based board insulation in the sandwich SIP should be applied with a density of at least 105 cubic kilograms in order to correspond to the compressive strength, elastic module, applied to the board materials for the sandwich panels. So, fiberglass-based plate with similar characteristics weighs 65 cubic kilograms. Well, that's a secret. And the low weight and the composition of SIPs with the CBPB is critically important to us. One of the disadvantages of a fiberglass-based board is its cost, which is 35 to 40% higher than the cost of foam polystyrene. But before attaining the mineral insulation to the sheet material, it must be first separated up into strips. All mineral insulation materials are cut into so-called lamels for their correct operation, specifically in order to enhance its stiffness and ensure high-quality heating properties. Only when the fibers are positioned perpendicular to the enclosing sheet, then a dew point temperature will also be achieved, which means a guarantee for long service life of the insulation. And after the preparation of sheet materials and insulation, we proceed to the production of the SIPs, that is, fastening of components by gluing. And for this purpose, a whole specialized production line is required. UIP6M is semi-automatic line for factory sandwich SIP gluing. This is assembly line production. Its operation is based on hydrostatic press equipped with its own hydraulic station. There is glue station and live roller tables. The glue application station operates in both manual and semi-automatic mode. Glue is applied only to the surface to be bonded. The volume and speed in glue application are adjustable. The operator starts the gluing machine, a station that applies glue jets through the nozzles to the sheet material equally spaced and sprays water. Water is necessary for activation and subsequent polymerization of the polyurethane glue. Then, guiding by marks, the insulation is placed on the glue. The machine starts again and applies glue to the insulation. The outer sheet material is placed on top. After several panels have been assembled, the workpieces are fed through live roller tables to the hydraulic press, where they are pressed during the time required for the glue polymerization. The holding time of SIPs under the press depends on the glue used, since the drying time polymerization of the glue can vary from 3 to 15 to 40 minutes, an hour, or more. What type of glue to be used depends on the tasks and equipment. Also, the glue is subject to critical, strict requirements for adhesion. This is a very important and really binding material. After a certain period of time, the press unlocks and the products are fed to the release table, from where the panels are transported to the warehouse or to the further production of KITHOMEs. This line allows producing SIPs from various materials. SIPs from CBPB, green board, fibrolite, glass magnesium board, OSB. After that, SIPs made of CBPB are stored in the open area until their shipment, while CIPs of OSB are stored only in the shop. We are the first in Russia from 2018 to produce certified SIPs made of CBPB with installation of stone slab based on fiberglass is-over sandwich light. And we produce the SIPs in compliance with technical specifications. As I've said in the previous video, you can't just buy lumber, CBPB, is-over, mineral plate, and many other materials. I mean wholesale and constant deliveries. This is the current reality. It takes years to build relationships with suppliers. We need to be sure in them. And yet we're also let down with our quantities of work. And to be honest, it is a constant headache. Almost every wholesale purchase comes not easily at all. Why? It's evident. Russian manufacturers which have a product with a technological value added fulfill deliveries abroad, and the value of our ruble in relation to world currencies further the process even more. It leaves no room for purchases for internally Russia-oriented companies. The international corporation Saint-Gobain, which also has factories for the production of is-over sandwich panels, at our request and for us, made a thermotechnical calculation of the SIPs made of CBPB sheets, our enclosing materials, and is-over sandwich insulation. This is our approach to the products, and hence this attitude towards us on the part of our partners. Well, the conclusion, based on the thermotechnical calculation, is the structural component is designed with due regard to the requirements of SP, thermal protection buildings, and construction climatology. According to the calculation, the structural component meets the requirements for thermal protection, for hygienic requirements, does not require additional measures to protect against excessive moistening. Yes, and in my opinion, the most important thing, all the above is undoubtedly important, but not the main thing. So what's the main thing? The main thing is certainly our team. In order to produce an SIP, after all, it's necessary to identify your need to priority for a particular material. And who is needed for this? Right. Managers and architects. And then, to make order and payment, the work of an accountant is also needed. Logistics specialists control the supply. And then, by the way, these specialists also pick up the transporting vehicles and absolutely free for you, using your discounts from logistics companies, ship your SIP and KITHOME hits. The production staff is also in the process. From management to machine operators and loaders, to put the panels in a Euro trailer so that the cargo can be transported over several thousand kilometers and get the destination point in its entirely and good condition is another task. And the storekeeper and the deputy director for economic section who are responsible for sustenance of the enterprise, and electricians, mechanical engineers. After all, a working enterprise is practically a living organism. Speaking of the team, we will make a film about our team, and I'm sure that you will be very interested in it. By the way, as I've said earlier, come to our factory, you are welcome. We'll make a tour for you. There's no secret. And if for some reason under the disguise of a featured customer, a competitor comes to our factory, no problem. It's okay. Nowadays there are many fake agents and fake factories, but they're not what you're looking for. Can I come to your production site and see your working process? I want to build a house with you. No? Why? But it's a secret? What's a secret? So you don't let anybody in? Too bad. Okay. How do you like these answers? For this reason, do not be lazy. Come and check. If you're not allowed into the factory, then what? Well, you're probably being tricked. It means dishonest and deception. The secrets of successful production is in a tightly wielded team of nuances and details, the successes and seemingly minor things that you definitely would not pay attention to when observing this process superficially. Such polishing and fine-tuning are possible only after many years of work, correction of errors, work on new assembly units and materials. Guys, in fact, this is a Herculean task. In order to get a really positive, long-awaited result, we are looking forward for your positive comments and feedback. You must really love your work and almost completely give yourself to it. I consider myself a happy person because my hobby is my job, and my income received from the production and construction, of course, allows me and my family to live, but also to invest in the study of new materials and technologies, in practical experiments and research, and a result in the expansion of completely new high-quality products output. But as for me, as the saying goes, I am a bottom man on the totem pole, if it wasn't for my family. Director of the VIRMAK company is my wife Victoria. She's responsible for contracts and financial issues. My brother Ivan heads the Moscow office, and as for me, I take up the business vector and production growth. By the way, my eldest daughter is a fifth-year student in the Krasnodar Construction University, and she's already helping our architects to make the projects. And I sincerely hope that after graduating from the academy, she will follow in the family's footsteps. And I have two more children who are still in school, but the choice of their future profession is already predetermined. And yes, we together with children live in SIP homes which we built ourselves. And dear friends, before you trust in a particular company, listen to some presenter of any channel. Please see what experience they have under their belt, what resources and philosophy. How do they work? There are a lot of advisors and professionals on YouTube, but don't put everyone in the same row. Be selective in the criteria for evaluating those with whom you will go somewhere. Please think over my statements. In the next video, we will talk in more detail about the production of our modified KITHOMEs. So, if someone doesn't subscribe, then please follow us, or you'll miss everything. And please be sure to check out all the useful links in relation to this video. Peace to your home, and see you again.